The following program is intended for mature audiences.
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, gentlemen, the Extreme Football League is back.
The XFL.
I still can't believe this is happening. This is
but it's not going to be the cheesy version that he did the first time, though. It's going to be a legit league.
That's what he says. That's
right.
Well,
and
okay,
it's going to be 2020, and that if you have a criminal record, you can't be in his league because it's a family-friendly league.
Oh, well, that's you've lost like 80% of your player pool this way.
You mean the same XFL that promised naked cheerleaders the first time around? Is now family friendly.
They do the naked cheerleaders, and that league is more successful than it was. I know that that's a terrible thing to say, especially in this climate, but the facts are the facts. But on a serious note, though, with this league, he came out and he said, this is going to be, we're giving football back to the fans. Mm-hmm. Okay. I said, all right, that's fine. That's a perfectly legitimate sentiment. I'm fine with that. So my serious question to you guys is this. If we could say this is what we want as fans in a professional football league, what would we change from the NFL? And I'm serious about that. I'm not making a joke. I mean, I'm really trying to think about what would I make different that I don't like about the NFL.
I think overall a simpler rule book, at least as it...
That was one of the things I thought of, too.
A simpler rule book as it applies to, the catch thing. Like,
right.
It's been getting worse in the NFL to the point where, like, nobody knows what a catch is. And so, if you came to me and said, we're starting a football league, what do you as a fan want to say? I'd say make it clear what a catch is. I'd say make it a bit less arbitrary what holding and pass interference is.
Okay, pass interference is a good one. Let me bring that up for a second, because I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and I think I agree with it. Isn't it time to get rid of the spot foul with pass interference? Whereas if it's if it's an 80-yard pass play and a guy's interfered with, they get the ball at the spot of the foul. Shouldn't it go back to like college and make it 15 yards or even maybe 25? I don't know, but I think I'd like to see that go too, because it's just too ridiculous. That, especially with the way they call interference, I think that you've got to fix that. No?
I kind of like that the NFL rule is different in that way.
Yeah.
Because in college, it's like they're not as good. There's probably going to be more pass interference, so make it 15 yards.
Well, not only that, but if you get a guy loose down the sidelines and you're cooked, you can grab him by the ankle and you're only giving up 15 yards.
Exactly. Yeah. And so in the NFL, and of course, the NFL is trying to, spur on points in that way with this the justification of it is, well, you're supposed to be better. And if you mess up, then you're going to be punished harder because you shouldn't be doing this, I guess. I like the division as it is. And it does bring some excitement to the game of just throw it downfield, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, the see what happens part is what I don't like about it.
That's what leads to the careers of Joe Flacco, though. So,
But that's what I mean. When he brought that up, I thought, well, that's a nice way to go about it. We'll give the game back to the fans. I can only think of, outside of uniform-related stuff, like 3 things that I would change. So I don't know if it's necessarily the best approach.
I don't know how this is going to be. If it's just lower quality football,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like we have college, and there's built-in ties as to why people like college football.
Right.
If you just give us low-grade professional football, it won't work. It won't work more better than anything more than like a regional sort of thing, I would think.
That was my thought.
Because we've had this done so many times. How many UFLs do we need to go through? to see this.
Well, that's what I mean. And when your argument is that we're going to give the game back to the fans, well, the fans had better come up with something that they want that they're not getting from the NFL. And again, outside of uniform stuff, I could only think of 2 or 3 things.
Okay, here's my take on the new XFL and why it's doomed to failure. Because, okay, Vince McMahon is essentially a professional ringmaster.
Right.
And you look at what the climate was back in 2001 when he tried the first XFL. And the WWF back then was at its peak in terms of pop culture relevance. We were just coming off the 90s with the whole Extreme thing. And it seemed like Vince knew that was his best shot at trying to leverage success. And so he went with it. But now he looks at the NFL and I think he's fallen into the trap of assuming that people are boycotting the NFL because of, criminal players and not standing for the anthem. Because that was another thing that he said. In the XFL, everyone's going to have to stand for the anthem. That's
not going to get you the viewership you think it's going to get you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because I think that when you look at what he said this XFL was going to be, he's basically tailoring a football league to meet what the general perceived weaknesses of the NFL are in 2018. We're going to give football back to the fans, shorter games, a simpler rule book. It all speaks to what your average sports fan is saying are the problems of the NFL these days. And then you throw in the stuff like no criminal players and standing for the anthem. And I have the feeling that Vince McMahon is basically an old grandpa at this point, and I think he kind of fell into that old grandpa Facebook thing where if you exist within your own social bubble, right, you kind of think, well, this is the way everyone's thinking, and it's not. But what I'm getting at with all this is going back to my original point. Vince McMahon is a professional ringmaster, and the same thing, Zach is right. He's 100% correct. The same thing that's going to be at the core of this XFL will be what is at the core of the last XFL, which is subpar football being played by less talented players. The only difference between then and now is that Vince McMahon, being a professional ringmaster, has changed the window dressing and the buzzwords and what he's wrapping the league up to present it as.
Don't you think that with the XFL the first time around, I would have liked it better had it been more like wrestling, where that maybe it was predetermined, maybe it was all the things that make the WWE great. Instead, they come up and they try to do, I guess, legitimate football. With, I mean, of course, they threw in the what they call it, the scramble for the instead of a kick or coin flip or whatever. But
yeah, the script which ended up injuring players, by the way. So good job.
To come back and try to do a wholesome, more 1950s idyllic version of football, I don't see how that's going to work, especially when, as fans, I just put the question out there, what would you change about the NFL? And we came up with a couple of rules, and that was about it. It's not like the NFL needs a lot of changing or that it's been taken away from the fans or whatever it is that he thinks has happened here. If he's reacting to the lower ratings, we talked about that. This was going to happen. There was no one particular reason for it. It was because their ratings had peaked. They had reached maximum density as far as their popularity goes, critical mass, whatever you want to call it. They had nowhere to go but down. It will level off. It's not like you're going to see this. This isn't like a slow decline. This is just a leveling off. It's a correction, a course correction, a market correction. So I don't know what hole he's trying to fill here, I guess, is my question. I don't get it. Will it be cheaper? Well, sure, probably, but like Zach said, it's going to be terrible. So who's going to want to watch it? I don't know.
The funny thing that I took away from his press conference was that he had no idea where the teams would be located.
That's a problem.
And he had no TV partners lined up.
That's another problem.
And so it's like, so what you're telling me, Vince, is you had a press conference to tell us all you have an idea for a football league.
I've got an idea forming in my head.
Like, without TV partners, or even concrete ideas of where you're going to put teams, you don't have a league.
I thought the ball was cool. I kind of like the ball. The
XFL ball is amazing, and I still have one.
Do you?
But I do. It's in my garage, but God.
So I don't know. I don't see this going.
Zach seems like he is trying to hold back giggling.
I think he's snoring. I think he fell asleep. Zach.
Zach.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, I drifted off for a second. I've been working really hard lately.
It's okay.
Oh, you weren't falling asleep because of the XFL conversation?
No, I was paying attention and then just, I don't know.
Oh, you really did fall asleep. Well, shit, that's even better.
For like a second, yeah.
For a moment when I thought you were just
we thought you were like holding back laughter, and then I said, no, he's snoring, and I thought, we put you to sleep with XFL, which is fair. I can't blame you.
No, it's fine. I was trying to contribute.
I think your contribution said an awful lot without saying anything.
Yeah. Well, the thing that sucks, too, is that they're not bringing back the team names.
Yeah.
How is Los Angeles going to defend its title?
What were they called again? The Hitmen?
No, the Extreme.
No,
yes,
they weren't. Oh, no.
They were the Los Angeles Extreme.
Oh, God.
And, yeah.
He won the first and only XFL championship.
Tommy Maddox.
So no, that is right. The Los Angeles Extreme should be back to defend the XFL championship. Come on.
They're not going to repeat teams. And the other thing is, like, you're not going to do this till 2020?
Yeah.
Like, the NFL will bounce back just fine in 2 years, Vince.
Well, the NFL's not in trouble as it is. When you were sleeping, we were talking about the ratings, and that the ratings. This is just a course correction. It's like a market. It's like what the stock market does, or what anything does. It's not this gloom and doom thing. They were at peak popularity. There was nowhere. We talked about it. Like the second episode we ever did of this show, that they had reached the point where they couldn't go any further up. There was only coming back down. They're going to level off. They're going to get, and they're going to be fine. I don't know. What have the ratings dropped over the past years? About 10%?
Yeah. A bit, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you don't want that, obviously, and you can lose a massive amount of revenue with a drop like that, but it's hardly catastrophic. It's just a leveling off. It'll be fine. Now, if it drops 10% per year for the next 3 years, yes, they're in trouble. But right now, I wouldn't even be concerned about it if I were the NFL.
I think a lot of this is Vince McMahon. Again, he's fallen down the old grandpa Facebook hole where he's like, everyone is talking about the protests over the anthem, and I'm going to bring back football to the fans. It's like, Vince, no. I guarantee you, Vince, the amount of people who are going to protest this, the amount of people who care enough about this is not as big as you think, and they are not going to be enough to build an audience out of. And another thing on the CCSOC forums, the people defending it the people saying that the XFL has a shot are basically repeating the same thing that has been proven false time and time again, which is the NFL, reaches 100 million people a week. If we could get 10% of that, we'd make money. Yeah, that business model has never worked, ever.
No. That 10% is going to be very, very difficult to get. I mean, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, yeah, you get 10% of the NFL's audience and their money, you do fine. You're not going to get it, though. You'd be lucky to get 1%. You're going to have to bust your ass to get 1% of that audience. It's just simply not going to happen.
There's only 2 instances that I can think of in the entirety of football where a rival league has done well enough to matter. Mm-hmm. The AFL, which is now part of the NFL,
Mhm.
And in modern times, the USFL was there for a minute because it had a monetary backing and they went after some big players. But the XFL as a single-man operation isn't going to cut it.
No, and the AFL too, a success story that it was. You've got to remember that when they formed that league, there were markets that were legitimate NFL-sized markets that had no teams. So you were able to put teams in where they needed teams. That doesn't exist now. Show me an underserved NFL market. I can't think of one.
Well, I mean, no, that's okay.
St. Louis.
Yeah, no, sorry. They've lost a team twice. They don't get to be part of that conversation anymore.
Okay, you know what's going to be hilarious, though? If the LA Extreme come back and they outdraw the Chargers. Like, I admit, I don't think the XFL will succeed, and I'm kind of rooting for it to fail, but I will legitimately get a hearty laugh out of the LA Extreme outtrying the San Diego Football Chargers of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I guess they could go to San Diego rather than play in LA, right?
But that's the thing. If you're a Chargers fan, a San Diego Chargers fan, are you going to go watch a different team because you don't have your Chargers anymore? I suppose maybe some people would, but would it be enough to make it a success?
No. And again, this is still 2 years off.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna work. And did he say when he was gonna do it? Spring, fall?
He said it was
don't recall.
He said it was going to be not quite a spring league. It's going to start up in January. So it's basically going to be like immediate post Super Bowl, I take it.
So he's banking on part of the alleged insatiable football appetite that America has, which
basically
I don't believe is there.
hey, Super Bowl's over. Do you still want football? XFL's got you covered.
But do we want football after the Super Bowl? Does anybody? I mean, I'm sure some people do, but like with me, it's kind of like, okay, I'm glad it's over. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It's always great. It's the big monster every year, football season. I mean, I know I'm a baseball fan and all that, but I pay much closer attention to the NFL than any other sport that I follow. But when it's done, I'm glad it's done. I don't want it. I don't want it to start up again with a new league next week.
Well, and you know what? I would like more NFL football. But once we go through like the roller coaster of the season and get to the Super Bowl, I don't like. I don't even want to watch the Pro Bowl, man. Like, why would I want to watch this league of has-beens? I mean, what will have greater talent, the CFL or this XFL?
Oh, the CFL, I would think. Wouldn't you?
You would think, yeah.
I mean, you're getting a lot of guys that are probably players that were the first or second round of cuts in training camp from NFL camps, which is to say they're not going to be the best and the brightest.
Which is to say they're going to get a kicker from the Chargers next season in the XFL.
But the USFL worked, I think, too, because it was a novelty. They did it in the spring. They got into good. And what people seem to forget about this is if they don't get that ABC ESPN contract, they never succeed at the level they did. That was huge for them to get ABC and ESPN to carry their games.
Part of the reason that the XFL was what it was at the time, too, was the NBC support. And it doesn't seem like they're going to get that now. If anything, I don't even know, will it go beyond the WWE network? Will somebody pick this up?
I mean, wouldn't it have to be? Because I'd have to think that that the only way this thing has a prayer is if he gets the money from a television deal.
Who would pick it up, though? Fox?
That's what I was thinking. Like, WWE as a corporate entity has been in bed with NBC Universal for years. Raw's on USA. SmackDown is on USA. They've got some programming on Sci-Fi. Every now and then there's a special on NBC. But, like, NBC is not going to be there because they've got Football Night in America. They're firmly in the end. Like, they're not going to pick up the XFL. They're firmly in bed with the NFL at this point.
Doesn't every major network have a football deal right now? An NFL deal? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I could see maybe is Spike, which is now the Paramount Network.
Yeah.
Sure.
Spike or well, I think if it was still Spike, you'd have a greater chance. Maybe does Turner get in on this?
Okay, they're telling you right now, there's no way Vince McMahon will ever put his stuff on He's still bitter about the Monday Night Wars and Ted Turner of WCW.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if, there's no love lost between those two. That's for sure.
There's Vince McMahon putting his show on a Turner product. I mean, he'd probably do it if if everyone else turned him down, and TBS called him up and were like, "Hey, we'll do it. Here's a bag of money." He'd maybe do it, but I guarantee you, Vince would be cursing through his teeth as he signed the paperwork.
I just don't know what void he's trying to fill here, because I just don't think there is one.
No.
The NFL's biggest problem isn't that people have stopped watching it. It's oversaturation. I think they back away from the Thursday Night Football a little bit, maybe not cram it down our throats quite as much, and their problems are solved. And it's as simple as that. And the XFL isn't going to solve any of those problems by existing. You're just going to get, like you said, Zach, it's going to be bad football. It's going to be bad football. Like MAC level football, to be honest about it. And I love the MAC, but that's what you're looking at.
But, Maction is fun once in a while, but not as a...
it's fun on Tuesday nights, but nobody's going out of their way to watch Toledo play Bowling Green on Saturday when everybody else is playing. That's why they're on Tuesday nights.
The big thing about the XFL, a lot of the fun stuff seems like it's not going to be there. If you're going to have an XFL revival, you think you at least want, like Zach said, the team names to be back, because as bad as they were, come on,
oh yeah,
Los Angeles Extreme, that's just too perfect.
But
come on.
some of that stuff was why the XFL caught on.
Mm-hmm.
It was really the things that people remember about the XFL aren't the football part.
No, not at all.
It's the team names. It's the he hate me.
Yeah,
and that's another thing that's not going to happen. They're not going to have customized. They're not going to have the customizable player name things.
Right. No, what made
or even things like the midfield football scrum, where you race. Instead of a coin flip, you just tackle each other in midfield for the football. You're not going to do any of that anymore.
You want to make the XFL great, you incorporate things from wrestling into it. At halftime or at any point during the game, the wirings that they use to run the above the field camera, you hang the money suitcase from that, and it comes out at some point, and we figure out a way that the teams have to fight to get the money. And I'm serious, because I really thought the first time around, I thought if he kind of does the wrestling thing with football, this could be fun. It won't be good, but it'll be fun because we'll have the wrestling aspect of it. It'd be like choreographed football, like the Globetrotters do, basically, where you'd have fights and subplots going on and storylines, and that would have been kind of neat.
The big thing that I was looking forward to most out of an XFL revival would have been buying a Johnny Manziel XFL jersey that said Johnny Football on the back, mm-hmm. and was that had dollar signs instead of numbers.
Yeah, that's his number, $2 Come on.
That's what I was really looking forward to out of a new XFL, and apparently that's not going to be a thing that happens because.
But don't you think, though, that has a better chance of succeeding? I mean, clearly not at an NFL level or at a good pro sports level, but as kind of an entertainment television show, wouldn't it be more successful taking on more elements of wrestling instead of getting rid of the few that you had? Because now you're just a straight-up football league going up against the NFL.
No, 100%. And I was going to say that, too. It's just like if you want to just do straight-up football and not have any of the bells and whistles to set yourself apart, no one's going to care. Mm-mm. If it's just, hey, we're also football, it's not good enough.
We're also football, but we're giving it
to break through.
Yeah, we're also football, and we're giving it back to you, the fans. And we've asked you what you want, and other than clarifying what a catch is, you really can't come up with anything. Because the NFL, for all of its faults, the NFL serves its fan base pretty well. I don't have too many complaints outside of, again, aesthetic complaints, which they're not going to do anything about anyway. So it's, make a couple of rule changes here and there, and everything's fine. I don't know what else. I can't think of anything about the NFL that I think has to be changed right now or I'll stop watching it. I can't come up with anything. I think the XFL could do better. Unless they add, what's the suitcase thing called in wrestling, Mike?
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. If they add that, like ladder matches, steel cage football matches, I'm down for that. I am.
Yeah. But, not even that stuff. I don't think you can just play straight up football games.
No.
I think you have to go full wrestling and make them scripted.
Exactly.
In some way.
Exactly.
Not even just like, the gimmicks will probably help, but you can't, it would be harder to sell doing that too. Like, cause when someone's trying to lose a football game, we can tell,
Just watch the Pro Bowl where no one tries.
Right. It's like, there's just so many things that it doesn't have any of the rock and roll rebel aspects the original XFL did. So it's like,
remember that great Jadeveon Clowney gif against Michigan?
Yeah.
You need to find a way to make that happen in real life. Now, I don't mean literally blow his head off, but I mean where, like, you get a tackle and, like, fire bursts out. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. That would work. Other than that, if I'm going to watch MAC football, I'm going to watch the real MAC. I'm going to watch the Rockets and the Falcons and the Northern Illinois, whatever they're called, and those guys. I don't need it at a professional level. I don't want it. The news I think that we all figured was going to come sooner or later has finally come, and that the Cleveland Indians will stop using Chief Wahoo beginning in the 2019 or 2020? 19?
1920,
yeah.
The 2019 season.
Yes. After the 2018 season, they will remove Chief Wahoo.
Meaning the XFL will exist in a post-Wahoo world. Ponder it.
I mean, we knew this was eventual,
right?
And I'm probably more surprised that it hadn't happened already. And the thing that always stuck out to me over the last few years was, despite the fact of the team and Major League Baseball doing all it could to suppress the fact that this logo existed, whenever they would do the specialty patriotic jersey, whatever, it's with the C hat.
Right.
I think all the TV networks were using the C logo for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think I remember you saying, Greg, that the Wahoo isn't anywhere in the stadium anymore, right?
He was. I'm trying to think if he, he used to be everywhere. I honestly can't say. I don't remember. I'm probably not, but I know that he went from being literally on the sides of every trash can and everything you saw that to not so much. But I can't really say for certain.
But my point here is, despite all those efforts to suppress it, in baseball, where you have the players choose their jerseys that they want to wear, and the hat jersey combinations, when the Indians were making their playoff runs recently, they were always picking Chief Wahoo.
Right.
Which just seems so incongruous to what was going on everywhere else. I don't know if it's just because baseball players are all generally conservative guys that don't really care. But
a lot of them are superstitious, so you have one good game in the Wahoo hat, and suddenly you're well, that's what I feel comfortable in, I guess.
Yeah, it's and I guess it's almost unfathomable to think about, because this has been their logo for such a long time.
I grew up with Chief Wahoo. I mean, he's been the logo since I was a kid. My whole life.
And beyond that, what if to the general public, when you tell somebody, hey, the Cleveland Indians, they say, oh, Major League.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the logo that's in the Major League movies. Mm-hmm. And it's prominent there. People know what Chief Wahoo is and what he represents.
Well, here's a serious question about Chief Wahoo, because I'm honestly not entirely sure. Is he as bad as people make him out to be, or is my judgment clouded because I grew up with him, and to me he's this cartoon character that's been around my whole life? It's a dead serious question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me,
as far as racist logos go, I've seen much worse.
Well, yeah, I think generally we see him as a cartoon, because we just see him. Oh, he's a logo, and up until recent times when these things have been kind of brought up more and more. I don't think none of us probably thought about it until, like the year 2005, maybe.
Right.
And it's just, he's a cartoon and he's the logo and that's just what he is. But he's a Native American with a red face.
Yeah.
A giant nose and a big sneaky grin.
True.
It's like really like I gotta say, like, and I hate playing this role because I think it feeds negative stereotypes about Canadians, because I think a lot of Canadians and a lot of Americans, for that matter, tend to be under the impression that we are this enlightened utopia in Canada, that like everything that's wrong in the United States doesn't apply to us, and that's simply not true. As a country, we have our own shit to deal with.
The First Nations people are a big deal up there, right?
Yeah. In fact, the department of the Canadian government that handles First Nations negotiations is still referred to as the Ministry of Indian Affairs. So, so again, we got our own shit to deal with. So we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like when you talk to a Canadian, and I've had these conversations before where someone who isn't as big of a baseball fan and maybe doesn't know, all the team logos, because, baseball isn't as big in Canada as it is in the United States. And so you'd be like, hey, do you know what the Cleveland Indians logo looks like? No. Well, let me show you. And it's like, oh my God, how is that still a thing?
Okay, that's fair.
It's one of those, it's one of those things where, and again, I don't like speaking for groups of people that I'm an outsider for, because I don't have that lived experience. I don't have that life experience. I don't have that cultural knowledge. So I can't speak to it, but I do try to empathize with it by being like, well, what if this was done to what I am? I feel like, what if there was a team called the Jews with a logo that was Wahoo-esque, only a Jewish person? I'm like, I probably would not like that very much.
Right.
And so I don't want to speak for any Native people, but at the same time, I can understand why this logo was not something that probably should have survived into the 21st century.
Here's another way to think about it too. I think we don't think about it too much because Cleveland Indians, not a big deal. The one that always comes up is the Washington Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, that's obviously racist.
Well, that's a diction that is a name that the dictionary defines as a slur. So
right. Imagine if this was the Washington football logo.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Imagine if the logos were switched and the Cleveland Indians had almost a Chicago Blackhawks-esque logo.
Yeah.
Or more like a stoic depiction of an Indian.
Right.
And then you gave the Redskins Chief Wahoo.
Oh my God.
Well, see, that's what I mean, though. I need that.
The ACLU would probably have burnt down the arena by now.
But I need that perspective because, look, I completely understand. And the logical part of my brain says this is a horrible logo and it needs to go. But the emotional part of me is like, but he's just this harmless cartoon guy that we've all grown up with, and he doesn't mean any harm. And you know what I mean? And I need that perspective because you're right. If that were the Redskins logo, we'd all be losing our fucking minds. It would. It's so. Look. At the end of the day, after I thought about it, I said, okay, the little kid in me is like, oh, he's just harmless. Like I said, he means no harm. Blah blah blah. But if it were my vote to make, he would go because ultimately, no matter how relatively inoffensive he falls on the scale of inoffensive logos, you know what I mean? It's still an offensive logo.
I think part of the thing too, when it comes to like him as a logo, there hasn't really been any good alternatives put forth.
No,
because taking out the connotations and what it means, it's a well rendered logo.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's what I mean.
I'm going to be look, I'm not saying this because I just hate Chief Wahoo as a racist cartoon. I legitimately do believe what I'm about to say, and it's completely honest and divorced from any of the controversy. I like the Block C. I think it's...
Oh, I do too.
I think it's a good logo for a team that has been around for as long as the Indians.
To me though, the Block C in context of the whole situation of the quote unquote controversy, it's, to me, with it just being a generic Block C to replace Chief Wahoo, it seems very much one of those placeholder things.
It also kind of seems like perhaps it was an over correction. Like, they think our logo is racist. Well, how can we make sure there's no controversy over the new logo?
Well, and you
It's
pair
a
that
Block
with
C.
and you pair that with the jerseys that they debuted with, and it's just like block numbers, block letters with a Block C. It's as generic can be. To replace something that, offended everybody, here's something that will offend literally no one.
Maybe it might offend Slapshot from the boards because he's all about the fonts. But he'd be the only guy. That's it.
Yeah. It's just... I think
the kerning is all wrong on the serif.
And here's to relate this a little bit. Look at the Blackhawks, for example, right? Mm-hmm. How many years of people? I mean, the Blackhawks logo isn't really bad. Like, people that really try to get up in arms about it, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe we shouldn't use other cultures as a
mascot.
Logo. Yeah, but. But when it comes to like representations of that culture, the Blackhawks is fine. But when people are saying, we should change him too. Okay, well, what's your idea then? What do you want to put in place of that? And people trot out like the bird version of it. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's not good. I don't want that.
The thing about the Blackhawks is, and I think, and this doesn't just refer to the Blackhawks, but I think a big problem is that so many people think this is a binary yes or no issue, and it's not. Look, I'm going to get a bit history nerd, I guess is the term, but I don't mean to. Okay, what I'm saying is that for better or worse, in the year 2018, the collective cultures that make up the North American continent, in the present day, so mainstream Canadian American culture, it's made up of a variety of influences. And the traditional one, and I'm quoting from an old school historian, so this isn't the most politically correct terminology, but I feel like it captures it, and it wasn't said in a malicious way, so I just want to preface that before anyone sends the hate mail. But basically, the North American culture is a mosaic of white, red, black, and brown. In terms of, you have all of these cultures, specifically the big ones highlighted, European, Native American, African, and Latino. These cultures all kind of came together, and the tapestry that is North American culture today is a reflection of that. And so I'm saying, from a philosophical standpoint, I don't have a problem with native themed identities in and of themselves. I think the because like the native themes and native motifs, I think, are a legitimate part of the cultural touchstones of North American society. I think the problem comes when they're not done respectfully, and I think that the Washington Redskins name is disrespectful, and I think that Chief Wahoo as a logo is disrespectful. But I think that Chief Blackhawk, who the Chicago Blackhawks are named after, was a military leader who led armed resistance against the United States government, and I think naming a team after him and having a logo that depicts his likeness in a respectful manner isn't a bad thing. And so I don't think it's a case of, Chief Wahoo went, so now we've got to get rid of the Blackhawks logo. Like, no, it's not a binary yes or no thing. This is complicated, and you got to take it case by case.
my point too, though, is just that nobody's brought forth a good alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chief Wahoo, yes, probably needs to be replaced, but for the people that are going to cling on to it because of the history it has, they haven't been presented with a good enough alternative to say, okay, yeah, I can take that logo.
Yeah.
Like the cursive I doesn't really do it.
No.
The block C isn't really much of anything.
But hear me out. What if we put the block C in a roundel?
Well, now we're talking.
Now Greg's on board.
Now I'm on board. I'm there now.
And we could put established 1917 underneath the Cleveland Indians baseball club.
I'm there, man. I'm in. You know me. You could put, I don't give a fuck what it is. Put it in a roundel. I'm all over it. But no, Zach's got he's got a good point, though, that there is nothing to, you can't come up with anything better than the Blackhawks. And, I think you should be able to come up with something better than Chief Wahoo. I just don't think anybody's tried that hard yet because there was never a definitive we're not going to use this anymore. So no one really thought, well, it's not necessary. Yeah. Now it's necessary. Now you've got to come up with something.
I will say, based off the image that you shared in the chat, Greg, the previous version of Wahoo was worse.
Oh, yeah. That's the one I wanted to show. There's an even worse one than that. I can't find him anywhere, but he's got his – I mean, I hate to be so blunt to our audience, but his nose looks like a dick hanging off of his face. I mean, it's even worse than that middle one there. I can't find that one, though.
Yeah, it definitely has been much worse, and I think that's also why – like, you look at those, and because they're a little bit more flesh-toned, it looks more like an actual person that you're trying to depict, whereas when you color him, like, brick red – it's like no human being on the planet has ever been that color,
right,
except for, me on the 4th of July out on the beach.
Yeah.
But, no one is that shade of red on a consistent basis. So it's even more cartoony. You just say, oh, we can pass it off. It's nothing. But, when you look at those old ones and the nose is a little bit bigger and the color, the color is much more, authentic to a Native American, it's kind of hard to say that it's not what people accuse it of being.
Right.
It's just,
well, that's what I mean.
That's where it's harder to defend.
When you've been indoctrinated into the cult of Chief Wahoo for all the years that I've been, it's, you just, because when you're a kid, I mean, you're not thinking anything like that when you're a kid.
Oh, of course not.
When I walked up to Old Cleveland Stadium the first time when I was 9 years old, and I saw, they used to have like a neon Wahoo with a bat. I'll have to find a picture of it. It's actually, they based one of the logos off of it. But you see that big sign, and it's just like the most inviting, coolest thing you've ever seen, And you don't think about it in terms of like, wow, there are people out there that see this and go, that's not me, and I don't like the fact that it's trying to represent me.
I mean, you say that, but it's not as welcoming as the home run sign for the Marlins. Come on now.
But
they get rid of that.
Derek Jeter wants to tear that thing down.
Fuck him. I mean, that's the only thing you've got left at this point. They got rid of all the players.
That is true.
Well, that's why they're going to take it out and they're going to put it actually in center field.
You know what? I'll be
going to knock down
fan.
all the home runs.
I'll be a Marlins fan tomorrow if they actually stick that thing in center field.
Yeah, me too.
I still like what Lee said from the boards, which is like, imagine in 10,000 years, archaeologists are going to uncover this thing and wonder what the hell.
I love that thing. I don't even know what it is or what it's supposed to be. I just know that I like it. That's all.
I'm sorry. I just had to bring that up.
But back to Chief Wahoo, and I think we all agree it's time for him to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But we're still sitting here in 2018 with Washington Redskins still existing despite all the public pressure to change it.
Maybe this is
being a tone-deaf asshole.
Yeah, maybe this is the final straw. Maybe this is what finally, breaks up the logjam and gets him to finally go with it, because this is really the last leg he had to stand on.
Yeah, I mean, even ones that weren't necessarily all that offensive, like the North Dakota thing with the Fighting Sioux.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really just the issue that the fighting part.
No,
didn't get the licensing.
From what I understand, the NCAA, and I think the NCAA actually had the right approach to it. They basically said, if you have a native name, you can keep it. but you have to get permission from the local native tribe.
Right.
And
then the government of North Dakota basically said, yeah, we're not even gonna bother. We're gonna make the university change. Mm-hmm. And so it was a state government decree that they had to change it.
Well, what ended up happening?
Now we have the Fighting Hawks.
What ended up happening with that was they got permission from one of the Sioux tribes to change it. Like, there are 2 Sioux tribes in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. One said, sure, you can use it. The other didn't even say no. They just said, like, we just have no opinion on it. But that wasn't an affirmative. So then the NCAA was like, well, we're going to make you change it. And then the state government was like, no, we'll take care of this so we don't have to get bogged down in all of this.
Yeah.
Well, another thing.
But we still have the Florida State Seminoles, Utah Utes.
Yeah.
And the Syracuse changed their name from the Orange Men to the Orange a long time ago.
Yeah, but that wasn't an Indian thing. That was an equality thing.
Was that a Dutch thing?
Well, I don't know where the Orangemen came from, but it wasn't due to Native American. It was due to equality between the sexes type thing. There was going to be the orange, not the orange men.
They didn't want to have, from what I understand, they didn't want to have both the orange men and the orange women, so they just had the orange.
Right, but believe it or not, well, I should say believe it or not. It's not like I'm giving you this great story that's hard to believe, but they used to have this character that was called the Saltine Warrior that was based on a Native American that they got rid of years ago, but way before our time. Syracuse did, but with the Utes, with Utah, I don't know what their logo is for the college, but on their helmet they use that drum, which I think is an awesome logo. If you're going to use like a Native American thing, that's a cool way to go.
It's just, I think it's a block U in a circle with a feather coming off.
Yeah. But I think the big thing with
I'm sorry, Zach, but I would buy one of those middle hats in a minute.
Oh my god.
Somebody posted this on my Facebook just now, so I was looking at it. This is a podcast. Like Mike was saying, like if a Jew's hat, well, somebody made a New York Jews, which is a blue hat with a caricature of a man with a large nose, and then the middle hat of the three, the right is the Cleveland Indians. Then you also have the San Francisco Chinaman with a buck-toothed, slanty-eyed, rice hat wearing guy.
Lest anyone think I was serious, I would not really buy one of these. But I defy you to look at that thing. It's offensive as hell, but you're going to look at it. You can't help but laugh at it. It's just fucking ridiculous.
I was going to say send your hate mail to.
No, I'm not serious about that. But I mean it. But it really does drive home the point of Chief Wahoo. Was my actual point. The San Francisco Chinaman one is so absolutely absurd that you look at that and go, I don't know how I can defend Chief Wahoo after seeing this, because they're essentially the same thing. The difference is the color and the ethnicity they're trying to parody, I guess. That's the only difference. And the Chinaman is remarkably offensive, and Wahoo, because we're used to him, doesn't seem as bad, but they're essentially the same thing. And the same with the Jew one. I just can't see it as well. But yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Wahoo, I mean, I'm completely sorry. I completely lost what I was about to say.
That's okay. So. If you get it back, just hop on back in there. But yeah, it's time for him to go. Yes, I understand that go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say that Zach mentioned that there are no alternatives on the horizon. I kind of want to address that on another point at once, because I think they're connected, which is that everyone's saying that they changed this because Cleveland's hosting the All-Star game in 2019. No, that has nothing to do with it.
No.
I would say probably one of the factors for why this is happening in 2019 is because that's when Majestic switches over to Under Armour as Major League Baseball's uniform supplier. And maybe, I mean, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but shot in the dark, maybe we've got a situation where, the Major League Baseball went to the Indians and they kind of gave them an ultimatum, like, look, you got to get rid of this logo. And the Indians were like, well, give us till 2019, so when Majestic takes over, we can work with them when Under Armour takes over, we can work with them to come up with something else. That was what I was going to say. And also, like, I think as far as pro teams go, like, there are ways that you can do it. Like, I did some research on this earlier today because the Blackhawks came up in the discussion about, should they change? And apparently the Blackhawks since 2011 have done a lot of work with the American Indian Center in terms of education programs for reservations and community outreach programs and native communities. So, like, the Blackhawks at least understand, like, yeah, we don't have a racist logo, but, like, we can't just use someone else's culture with impunity. Like, we're going to go out of our way to show, like, no, like, we want to give back in some way, which I think is a big difference. I think it goes a long way in a lot of these, like, borderline cases where it's not racist, but maybe you still want to think about it.
Right.
It's like, I mean, quite frankly, honestly, I think the Big Four ought to adopt the NCAA policy, which I think is fine, which is, like, you can use whatever, native name you want if you get permission from the local tribe. Like, I think that's the best way to go about things because
it makes it tough, though, if you're using a generic name like the Indians, because who are you going to talk to? Do you go to the Cherokee? Do you go to the Huron? Do you go to the Onondaga? I mean, where do you go?
Yeah, but I think I would say, like, whatever is, like, the geographically closest to Cleveland, maybe.
The ones I just mentioned all are.
Well, and the thing too that when it comes to, like, getting permission, it's one thing when it's, like you said, it's too broad. It's not one tribe or the next. Mm-hmm. The other problem is they're not actually Indians. If right.
Yeah.
Are Native Americans going to sign off on? Yeah, sure. Call yourself the Indians. Just change your logo to a Hindu.
I do want to real quick drop this in because I'm on my Facebook feed now. Why? Because obviously in Ohio you're going to get a nice reaction to this.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm sure it's been pleasant.
Well, and this is the first of what are going to be many of the false equivalency arguments, which is the Indians should just change their name to the Cleveland Crackers and be done with it. Problem solved.
Yeah. Well,
like if we were the Whiteys, that's it's.
Well, there is something to be said about that. Only because is anybody putting up a big stink about the Minnesota Vikings?
No.
Or the Notre Dame Fighting Irish?
Well.
No, but we didn't destroy the Irish culture and stick them on reservations, and then we didn't do that to what was the other
Scandinavians.
one? The Scandinavians, yeah.
Yeah. The point there, I think, and this is just my opinion on the matter, is that, like, North American culture is predominantly European influenced. Like, whites have, and have always had the most political agency. And so I think there's a difference between a predominantly white culture deciding to use European cultural touchstones like the Fighting Irish or the Vikings, because in ways, white people of European descent have legitimate cultural ownership of those themes, whereas they don't have legitimate ownership of native themes. And I think that's where the distinction comes in.
And I just got something to say about the Vikings real quick too. The the horns on the helmets, right?
Yeah.
Those never existed. The horns actually grew right out of their heads.
Oh God. No, Viking horns though.
They grew right out of their heads. So that's also something they got wrong. I'm kidding. I really thought that joke would land better than that. I thought it was pretty good. I guess not.
But yeah, no, the Vikings never had horns. That is just a
that is
taking
true.
all the fun right out of it. But anyway, I think that we're all in agreement with that Wahoo needs to go, and I think we're all in agreement too that it would sure be nice if they could come up with something better than a Block C to replace him. And for love of God, don't go back to what they call the caveman C. When we're talking about Zach, Mike and I talked about it earlier. The old
wishbone.
No, the wishbone C is a good one. The old it was from the mid '70s when they had like they call it the caveman font, but it's the. Here, let me find it.
I would, but to follow up though, I would also not advocate them go back to the wishbone because there's already Well, Cincinnati,
teams.
Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
You know, it's bad enough that the Bears and Reds both use it, but they're
And the
I've got-
Twins, actually.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah,
God, that Twins, man, the Twins have just like the best hat logo. I'm sorry.
So this is the 70s.
Yeah, this is the 70s C, Zach. That's what I wanted to show you.
Oh yeah. Right.
I just
Which to me,
You know what? I don't mind that though.
see, but this is what I told Mike before we started, and I'll say it to you. If you gave a 6th grade class of 50 kids an assignment to design a new Indians logo, 25 of them would come up with that C. That's what I don't like about it. It's lazy to me.
Yeah, but it's also a way to. It's not. You're getting a letter, but you're also giving it a cultural flair in that way.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I'd have to see which Indian tribe wrote with that kind of. I mean, like the Cherokee didn't have a written language.
Could be something completely invented by us.
But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It's just it had to happen eventually, and I think I'm glad that it's finally here. As much as the child, the irrational child in me is trying to argue otherwise, it was time for him to go, and that's that. Got to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chief, and he'll still be running Major League forever.
I mean, which is the big thing. Like, if you're nostalgic for Major League, like, you're always have Major. It's not like no one's gonna go back and George Lucas Major League to take out all the Chief Wahoos.
And it's not like you can't find old Indians hats.
Yeah.
Or I guarantee you, in the next year, people are just going to buy up the whole lot of those things.
Well, that's the thing. They're going to think these things are going to become collector's items, and maybe they will. I don't know, but
maybe not even collector's items. Like, if you're somebody that's really attached to Chief Wahoo and you know that you will never be able to buy crisp Wahoo merchandise ever again,
right?
Like, I'm glad that this is not the same. It is a little bit, but I'm glad that the Mighty Ducks logo is back in vogue in some ways, so that I can get new Mighty Ducks merch. Otherwise, I'd have to stick to, the eBays of the world and get old stuff that people are selling.
I have not bought something with Chief Wahoo on it. It's been at least 10 years, maybe longer. Every one of my hats I've got. Well, I'll take that back. I bought one 48 throwback Cooperstown hat about 5 years ago because it was on sale for $7 with the C, and then it's got the Wahoo in the middle. But I stopped buying Wahoo gear years ago. I just won't do it. All of my hats have the C. I've got 4 of the Wishbone hat Cs, and I've got the 2 current ones, the red and the blue one, and the current look. And
do you have an eye hat?
No, I never liked those. Those things were horrible.
I've got a problem with the eye hats just because I like monograms to be reflective of the city and not the team name. So I would prefer the Indians to have a C hat over an I hat.
Yeah.
Also, it looked like a J.
Yeah. I had never liked that logo. I mean, it was just the I from their jerseys, more or less. It was kind of a stylized version of that, or just like a redone version of it. But we'll see what they come up with. What would you guys think about if they went the Redskins route or the Blackhawks route and did a respectful rendition of an Indian and maybe named him something besides, Wahoo? We decided to go respectful. Here's our, beautiful, respectful picture of an Indian that honors the culture and all that. What's his name? Chief Wahoo.
I think I definitely think the right way to go about it, and this is more of a PR thing than anything else, but I think if they came out with a respectable native logo and then maybe did a thing where it was like, we've been, we consulted with local tribes and we brought people in to make sure that nothing was offensive. I think that could fly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could introduce. Well, Florida State did it, but they were just updating their old logo.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can introduce a new one. I really don't think you could.
Well, the thing around here too is that most people are going to hate it because it's. You take the. Like, I consider myself pretty, on the liberal side of the spectrum when it comes to these social issues like this.
Mm-hmm.
And even I am looking at it going, well, I grew up with this, and it's, like I said, he doesn't mean any harm. He doesn't, he's not trying to be this thing and all that. Now, take that attitude and put it in with the usual suspects, the ones that are, think the NFL is dying because people won't stand for the anthem and all that. And you're going to see we're going to run into some trouble here with trying to replace him. And so any replacement's going to be up against that attitude as well, that nothing's ever going to be as good as Wahoo because of the PC culture that ruined him or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I think if you're going to do something and you want to make a logo, I'm trying to think, though. It's hard because the Braves already have the tomahawk.
The I like the drum. Yeah, and the thing is, too, we've had that idiot that plays the drum out in center field for 40 years. So I like a drum.
The drum is obviously an option. The common motif I see in the CCSLC concept forums is to maybe attach some fellers to the side of the C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another one, if you want to go all the way, like an empty liquor bottle is a good idea, too.
Oh, God damn it. Send your hate mail to Greg.
A slot machine, right?
And a slot machine.
Greg's opinions do not reflect those of basically.
No, see, boys, you don't understand. I'm allowed.
They're going to change Chief Wahoo and make him wear a bolo tie.
Like Mike can make Jewish jokes. I'm allowed to make those Native American jokes. It's okay.
I think the drum is a good way to go.
Yeah, I do too. I'm kidding about the alcohol bottle. I'm sure people already know that, but
throw that on. Make that a sleeve patch with the drum.
Yeah,
there you go.
I love that Utes logo.
Put some sort of letter on the drum. Make the letter the cap logo, and the drum goes on the sleeve.
There you go.
Done and done.
I think a drum. I'm trying to think of other things you could use. I mean, seriously, not. Yeah, well, but the liquor bottle. I mean, that's I say that as a joke, but alcoholism is a serious problem in the Native American community because of the shitty way that this government has treated my people since all the way back to God knows when. So when these people throw out the false equivalency of the Fighting Irish guy or the Viking, whatever, this is why it's different, because we didn't do that to those people. So that's the point. But a drum, I think, is an ideal move. That it's it works for the use.
My first go-to is always a tomahawk, and maybe that's a little racist of me to think too. But the Braves have that. A spear is probably a little too aggressive.
Yeah.
You can't just throw corn on there. That'd be.
No, but the drum, and again, when you've got to do the Nike speak that will inevitably come with this, you've already got the built-in thing with John Adams and the
resounding passion of the Cleveland fan.
Right, and it's a tribute
thunder is like the beating heart of
The new brighter red represents the passion of the Cleveland Tribe fan base.
Right.
The blue remains unchanged.
Anyway, should we move on and talk a little Super Bowl before we wrap it up?
If we
give our official picks and a little.
We're not gonna go into our in-depth Pro Bowl analysis now.
I just want to know who won. Do you guys know who won?
The AFC. The AFC had a comeback. It was.
Did they have a comeback?
It was 24-23.
Who led the comeback for the AFC?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, look out!
He outdueled Jared Goff in the second half.
Okay.
I don't know.
How the uniforms look? Did they? Okay.
It was a red team versus a blue team.
Yeah.
I liked the gradient numbers; those were cool.
But when you're watching it on TV, it's literally just guys in red playing guys in blue.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
And this is a really dumb question, and I'm not even sure it's been played yet. Did anybody watch the Senior Bowl?
It has been played, and no.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, back to the Pro Bowl, one last thing before we leave the Pro Bowl in the dust, because this was actual Pro Bowl news. The 2018 Pro Bowl was the last game in which the two-tone Jaguars helmet will be worn in.
Yes.
So, they're getting a uniform refresh for next season, and apparently the helmet is going to be all one color. So,
and the rumor has it it's going to be all black again, which will be good, I think. It's the Winter Olympics, which is cool.
Which,
but
you know,
it's
is all
curling.
which is all we're going to have, by the way, because hockey's not going to be a thing.
Have you seen those rosters?
Brian Gianta's the captain of Team USA.
Who?
Andrew Ebbett is on the second line for Canada.
I know.
Well, if nothing else, well, I would no, because it's not the same anymore. I was going to say, if nothing else, we could have another Miracle on Ice, but no, because the Russian team's going to suck too, probably, right?
Russia's not even there.
No, well, yes, they're going, but they're not allowed to be called Team Russia.
Russia got banned from the Olympics because of doping.
So like they're sending a hockey team. It's just the Olympic athletes from Russia, not Team Russia.
Okay.
And if they win anything, it won't count towards Russia's historic medal count. Like,
oh, jeez.
So it's yeah.
But they have like Pavel Datsyuk and Ilya Kovalchuk and
Ovechkin's not going anymore.
Well, yeah, he can't. Plus, he wouldn't even be playing for Russia, so why would he go?
I liked the Admiral's joke on the matter. Actually, he's still gonna go, but instead of playing hockey, he's just gonna spend his time smoking outside in the Olympic Village.
like any good Russian.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Ovechkin had his kid at the skills competition.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he brought his son out for like the pre-skills competition warm-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so anyway, back to the topic at hand here. Speaking of the Olympics, the most important thing of every Winter Olympics is what will the Norwegian curling team be wearing this time around?
Yes.
And we've got to look at them. I got to say, they're okay, but
they're not their best.
Not their best.
Outfit.
No,
they've had better.
Had better, definitely.
My favorite one is either the straight up plaid or the houndstooth.
The houndstooth is a good one. I really like that one.
The houndstooth is my favorite. I can't believe I live in a world where I have a favorite Norwegian curling pants, but
well, dude, I mean, if you can't even call yourself a sports fan if you don't have one.
Yeah. And I feel, and this is always fun because there has been quite a rivalry between Canada and Norway in curling. I guess we've emerged as the two premier powers of international curling, so it's always fun to play Norway with their crazy pants.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we kind of joke about curling and stuff, but I truly do love watching that sport. I'm not kidding when I say that. I really like it.
I really do look forward every 4 years to having it. Like, yeah, you know, it's cool. Occasionally you'll have like curling night in America. It's occasionally, but it's, you know, you're never sure of when it is. But I know every 4 years, I know that I will be able to find some curling on television at some point. And the best part is they're going to have all these things. NBC's going to air this stuff live in the middle of the night. So like, if I'm having a late night, you know, I can't sleep or something, I know that somewhere over in Pyeongchang, there's going to be a curling rink open, and it's going to be on my TV.
If they're doing curling, because I'm always up like till 1 or 2 in the morning, if they're doing curling that time of night, I'm on it, man. I will be watching it live as it happens.
No, 100%.
I got to say, in all honesty, curling is, I'm a bigger fan of curling than I am of the NBA. That's the truth. I'm not being facetious at all when I say that.
Well, I mean, we've literally talked more about Norway's curling pants than we have about pretty much anything about the NBA season so far.
Cavs suck. Okay, we're done.
The Cavs?
Yeah, the Cavs suck.
Boy, what a disaster they are this year, huh?
Apparently, we've got star players threatening to sit out. So Kyrie Irving is threatening to get knee surgery so he doesn't have to play, apparently, or something absurd like that.
Kyrie Irving or Isaiah Thomas, you mean?
I want to say Irving. Hang on.
Well, he's with the Red Sox. Well, that would be something. He's with the Celtics now.
The Red Sox. Oh, is he? Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's looking at Isaiah Thomas, not the old Isaiah Thomas, but the new one. Yeah, only in Cleveland. I don't know, but this team, they're not good. I mean, they had a nice stretch there for a little bit. I guess I read it in the news somewhere, and now I heard they're not very good at all.
No, they're terrible. Which is great because I don't think the Raptors could ever beat the Cavs, but you know, I give them a puncher's chance against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sure. But I will say this too. I don't care because curling is going to be on during the Olympics, so that's what I'll be watching. You guys can go out and fight about your stupid calves all you want.
And the best part, I think this is the first time they're doing it. I'm trying to confirm it, but I can't. I can't confirm it. Oh yeah, no, here it is. Okay, so we've always had men's curling, and we've had women's curling, but for the very first time, we will have mixed doubles curling.
Oh,
yes.
Shit,
so not only do you have the men's tournament or the women's tournament, you will now have 3 separate curling tournaments to carry you through the entire games. The mixed tournament is what will happen for the first 6 days of the tournament. Then the men's and women's tournaments will round out the rest of the 8 days or 8 days plus of the tournament after that. So there will be curling every single day of these Winter Olympics.
You know what has never been said by anyone ever, anywhere, ever? There's too much curling.
Too much curling.
No one's ever said that. No one has ever said that.
No one has ever said that.
Look, with these god awful hockey rosters coming out, these Olympics are going to be all about the curling for me. Like I don't even care. I don't even care about the hockey.
Serious question about the hockey. Are the rosters at least talent-wise like equal, so it could be interesting? I mean,
no.
Like bad hockey, but bad hockey that's fun.
At best, this is maybe AHL level hockey.
Wow. Well, that's not terrible bad.
Again, this is a maybe. Like here, I'm going to look up the U.S.
Maybe like
Olympic
ECHL.
Hockey.
Is it you know?
Maybe.
I've got the Canadian roster.
Do we have any idea who's going to be good and who isn't?
No.
Well, that might make it interesting then.
No. Okay, so here's the Americans. All right, Mark Arcobello, best known for being an Arizona Coyote at one point.
That one time.
Chad Billings.
I can just see Mark Arcobello's little feature that they do during the Olympics that will talk about that time he was with the Phoenix Coyotes for like a week.
Orange County, California's own Jonathan Blum played a cup of coffee with the Predators, I believe.
Oh, hey. Those are some credentials there.
Will Borgen. Chris Bork is a name. Bobby Butler. Ryan Donato. He is, I believe, related to Ted Donato. Brian Giunta. There you go. There's a guy. Matt Gilroy, Jordan Greenway, Ryan Gunderson, Chad Kolarik, David Leggio, Brock Little, Brandon Maxwell, John McCarthy, Brian O'Neill, Garrett Rowe, Bobby Sanguinetti, Jim Slater, Ryan Stoa, Troy Terry, who is actually going to be really good. He's a Ducks prospect. He was great in World Juniors. That's a kid to watch. Noah Welch, James Wisniewski.
Oh my, former Columbus Blue Jacket.
Former Anaheim Duck, former Chicago Blackhawk.
Wow.
Former Carolina Hurricane.
Wow.
And then your likely starter in net, number 30, from Jokerit of the KHL, Ryan Zapolsky.
Wow, that's a bunch of guys I've never heard of.
Uh-huh. Greg, or Mike, the Canadian roster.
Okay. Ice hockey tournament at the here we go. So in goalie, in nets, we have Justin Peters currently playing for Kolner High
of Russia or Germany, right?
Of the German Hockey League.
Oh,
yeah, their logo is a shark.
That it is.
Germany being the noted shark capital of the world.
Yes, especially Cologne, where that team plays, which is landlocked.
Oh, never change European hockey. Never change. After that, we've got Kevin Polan of EHC Kloten of the Swiss League.
Nope.
Probably your starter.
I would assume.
Ben Scrivens.
Yeah.
Former NHL, former Edmonton Oiler and Toronto Maple Leaf and a lot of other teams.
And Los Angeles King, yeah.
Was he part of the Kings goalie rotating door during that period? Like,
no, he was Quick's backup.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's nice. But he's currently in Russia for Salavant Yulov Ufa.
Sure.
That's a team, apparently.
What do you treat that with?
On D, we've got Stefan Elliott of a team in Sweden whose name is just a series of numbers and letters, HV71.
Oh, that's a cool name. I don't know what it means, but more teams should do that.
But they are often referred to as just HV. So, okay. Shea Genoway, Cody Golubev, Marc-Andre Grognani, Chris Lee, Maxim Naru, Matt Robinson, Carl Stollery. Oh, the powerhouse on forward, former Montreal Canadien and Calgary Flame and Anaheim Duck, Rene Bourque.
Yeah, a guy that could barely stick on the fourth line 2 years ago.
He's probably going to be one of your offensive powerhouses he's currently playing for Desjardins If Hockey.
Yes.
Okay.
In Sweden.
I ifs hockey.
Gilbert Bruel.
That's Gilbert Brule. How dare you?
Well, I'm sorry, but he's currently playing for the China team in the KHL.
Oh,
former Blue Jacket, Greg.
Oh, wow.
Gilbert Brule. There
and
you
he's
go.
playing for the Kunlun Red Star in the KHL.
Yeah. I love this mess of nonsense.
Andrew Ebert,
Former Anaheim Duck,
playing for SC Bern in Switzerland.
Sure.
Quentin Howden, Chris Kelly, Rob Klinkhammer.
He played in the league.
He did. He's currently playing for AK Bars Kazan in I believe Kazakhstan.
Oh, wow. A paycheck's a paycheck, right?
Brandon Kozin, Maxim LaPierre.
Yes.
Maxim LaPierre, he escaped. Oh, former Anaheim Duck and St. Louis Blue.
And Vancouver Canuck.
Currently,
he was a piece of shit.
Currently playing for HC Lugano in Switzerland. Eric Odell, Mason Raymond. Oh, Mason Raymond.
Yeah.
Former Canuck, Maple Leaf, Flame, and Duck.
Eternal waiver wire pickup.
Currently playing for SC Bern in Switzerland.
Oh, he'll have a teammate. Good.
There you go.
Now, from the transaction page in your newspaper,
Derek Waugh.
Derek Waugh.
Derek Waugh.
Any relation to Patrick?
Former Edmonton Oiler. He's playing in Linksbogs HC in Sweden. Kristen Thomas of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins in the AHL.
Wow, there's a team I've heard of at least.
Lyndon Vey of the ZSC Lions in Switzerland. They play out of Zurich, so good for him.
Was an awful Los Angeles King that Kings fans hated. So
Wojciech Wolski.
Oh, Wojciech Wolski. Who is from Poland but is playing for Canada for reasons. Yes.
Nice.
Citizenship.
Yeah, he's got Canadian citizenship, but he's currently playing for the Metallurg
Magnitogorsk
in Magnitogorsk, Russia.
Metallurg Magnitogorsk, a.k.a. the place that Evgeny Malkin came from, or also known as where Mike Keenan was coaching for a while.
Oh, wow.
This is their Wikipedia page for that city, by the way.
Okay, it's It's just a black and white picture, really industrial. It's funny. Oh, geez.
It's hilarious. It is exactly what you think of when you think industrial town in the middle of Russia.
Yep.
So that is the Team Canada roster.
Oh, my.
Head coach is Willie Desjardins.
Good for them.
Who I don't even think is currently coaching for anyone currently.
No, because he was too bad for the Canucks.
I said, that both of those rosters are a bunch of guys I've never heard of, except for James Wisniewski. That's it.
It's a comedy of errors. But here's Russia. Russia might actually – the funniest part about this is Russia might have its best shot to win a medal since 1980.
And if they win it, it won't even be as Team Russia.
Jeez.
But, like, here's some of the guys. Pavel Datsyuk, Ilya Kovalchuk, Mikhail Grigorenko, Nikita Gutsev, Vadim Shipachov, a.k.a. the guy that was a Vegas Knight for one whole minute this season. And then Slava Voinov on defense. Nikita Nestorov also on defense. And then there's a bunch of other syllables and letters that are thrown together on the rest of this roster.
Well, you know, the thing is, and I don't know if this is just crazy or not, but that team just sounds better. Like, if you just look at names, you go, these guys sound like they're probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And, of course, South Korea will have a team. So
I'm telling you, watch. It will be the funniest thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
When Russia wins this time.
And it doesn't even count.
Yeah, they don't even play the Russian anthem. They're not wearing Russia jerseys. No, actually, I have a picture of the jerseys. I got to send it to you.
I want them to just be plain white jerseys that say like Russia related hockey team on the front.
Well, you're not that far off, Mike. Just give me a second to work.
Russia related hockey team.
Man, you're not really, like, you laugh. You're laughing right now.
So
give me a minute.
Okay.
So as Zach gets that, I just want to go over one player on the South Korean team. He's probably going to be their starting goalie.
Is he Canadian?
His name is Matt Dalton, and he's born in Clinton, Ontario, Canada.
Our South Korean goalie, his name is, what was it, Matt Dalton?
Matt Dalton from Ontario.
Oh my God! Is that no? Those aren't real, Zach. Come on.
No,
those are real.
Those are real.
Olympic athlete from Russia?
Yeah.
Fuck me. I've got to have one of those.
I'm buying one.
That is the greatest jersey of all time. Olympic athlete from Russia.
This is the closest we're ever going to actually get to a Vegas NHL placeholder logo on a jersey. So,
oh
yeah.
My. Olympic athlete from Russia. Is that how they're going to be referred to throughout the Olympics?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because Russia got itself banned, so anyone from Russia is just an Olympic athlete from Russia.
Oh,
They're
my.
representing Russia.
It's literally those Nike jerseys, like you see the feathers on the arms.
Yeah.
But they're just red and white, and it says Olympic athlete, number from Russia.
This is amazing.
I got to save that picture. That's going to be our cover picture this week.
It doesn't even say Olympic athletes from Russia. It's just Olympic athlete from Russia.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Oh, God. Now I want them to win. So, like, for the gold medal ceremony, it's them in those jerseys and no flag or anthem.
Right.
Can I buy this? I need to buy this.
I know. I want one.
So,
like, I don't have any Russian players that I particularly like, but, you know, it's pretty good.
So
imagine if the NHL players had been allowed to go, and you're getting like an Alexander Ovechkin Olympic athlete from Russia jersey.
Like the best. Oh, so speaking of these, I don't have it on hand. It's in my closet. But when I was in Toronto over the holidays, I picked up a Team Canada Nike Alchemy jersey. So far, I have not yet achieved the power of alchemy yet, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying, and I'll keep you guys up to date on that.
Cool.
Good.
Olympic athlete from Russia. That is unbelievable.
This is
welcome to the year 2018.
All right.
Can we change? That's what Cleveland should be. professional baseball player from Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm down for that. That would be great.
Professional athlete from Cleveland.
The standings just be like Cleveland's professional baseball team.
Yeah, the here come the Clevelands taking the field for the first time this season.
Okay, let's do a little Super Bowl here so we can wrap up.
Oh, right.
We don't have to do a whole lot because I do want to go on record really quick before we get too deep into this.
Sure.
That I have changed my mind from last week. I'm back to saying Joe Montana is still the greatest quarterback ever. I watched some videos, went and did some extensive research on this, and at the end of the day, I'm giving Montana the nod. So just wanted to clear that up with everyone.
I'm glad you cleared your conscience.
Right. I feel I had to say it publicly just so that people would know. Okay.
So Mike brought this up when you were away, Greg, but I think I said all that anyone needs to say about this last week when we talked about this, that Nick Foles or Bill Belichick is being given 2 weeks to prepare for Nick Foles.
Yep.
That's it. Like, look, literally at this point, if anybody tells you they're picking the Eagles, they're either idiots, assholes, or Eagles fans. Which, it's redundant.
It's kind of like, I don't think that it's quite as crazy a pick as, say, Jacksonville over New England would have been a week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where that, if you were picking the Jaguars, you were clearly just trying to do the old hot take thing and just being contrary to be contrary. The Eagles, I think, have a better chance of beating the Patriots than the Jags did.
Yeah, I agree
still,
with that. But
if you're picking the Eagles, if you're like, okay, if you want to say, I think the Eagles can win if this, and this happens, I'm all right with that. But if you just come right down going, the Eagles are going to win this game, and here's how, I'm sorry, I can't get on board with that.
I don't see any tangible, legitimate reason. Again, unless you're an Eagles fan or an idiot, to say
sometimes that's one and the same.
Yes, the Eagles will beat the Patriots, and you'll say, okay, why? And not even like if this and this and this. Yeah, sure. If the confluence of errors all come to be, but can you point to a single, can you point to hard evidence stats and say, well, the Eagles are good here, and this is why they will beat the Patriots? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think there's any way to legitimately and tangibly say that the Eagles will beat the Patriots. Like,
no,
if you're picking the Eagles, is because you're an Eagles fan or because you're trying to just have a hot take. Like, I hate the Patriots more than just as much as anybody else, maybe more so, but I still can't logically pick against them at this point.
This Super Bowl reminds me of the Super Bowl where the 49ers beat up the Broncos 55-10. In that you've got the Patriots coming in with Brady, and this will be their sixth if they win it. They want to make history here, just like the Niners did with that Super Bowl against the Broncos. That would have been their second in a row. Montana wanted to cement his legacy, et cetera, et cetera. This one's shaping up an awful lot like that to me, where the Patriots are going to come in and attempt and probably succeed in delivering a message from the opening kickoff. I just don't see this going well for the Eagles at all. I know that the Patriots haven't blown anybody out all year, and they're this, they're that. There's weaknesses here and there, but you know what? I think this one's going to be ugly right out of the gate. And
at the end of the day, it's going to turn. At the end of the day, this is the game where Tom Brady is going to turn on Brady Smash.
Yeah, what was that analogy you used last week? The Death Star and Alderaan. Basically, that's what you're looking at this week. Yeah.
You may file when ready.
Yeah.
Like 100%. It just there's 2 weeks for Nick Foles.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
that's
seriously,
really
every time you say it, it's just
2 weeks. Bill Belichick, the greatest football coach that has ever lived.
Yeah.
2 weeks to prepare for Nick Foles, who has had one good season and 2 good games.
Not only that, but I don't know that I'm confident with too many good quarterbacks if Belichick has 2 weeks to prepare for them. You give him 2 weeks for a guy like Nick Foles, and like I said, they very well could be coming into this game thinking we want to break the record for points, we want to do all these things, and I don't see a reason why they couldn't do it. And this Eagles team, if Carson Wentz were still playing, I think it changes everything. Then you go, hey, this could be a very good game. But right now, I just don't see it. If you're the Patriots, you're never in your life going to let this Eagles team led by Nick Foles beat you. That's all. Belichick has the 2 weeks to prepare. All he needs to do to tell this team is like, look, do you want to let Nick Foles beat you in a Super Bowl? No. That's it. No. There you go.
And generally speaking, like when the Patriots have lost, it's been a certain kind of way, right?
Yeah.
It's been grind it out, run the ball, defense, hold them down.
And hope to God your receiver catches a ball with his helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you think to both the times that they lost, and they had those incredible catches.
Right.
Yeah.
And they nearly almost lost this time with that incredible Julio Jones catch.
Yeah, but then Julian Edelman was like...
Right. Only done by Julian Edelman. But I don't think the Eagles can play like that. I think if the Eagles are to win, they have to get in a shootout.
And you're not going to win. Nick Foles is not winning a shootout against Tom Brady. I don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you have to get in the shootout and hope that the defensive line can be good enough to slow down Tom Brady. And they have a good defensive line. I will give the Eagles that. They have some speed on the edges, but they don't rush the right way. Like we talked about it when they were playing the Jaguars. You have to kind of rush him up the middle so he can't step up in the pocket, and you force him to be on the run and be uncomfortable.
Right.
The Eagles have speed rushers from the edge, which they'll go around you. Tom Brady will step up, make the throw downfield, and you're going to be dead to rights every single time.
Well, let's not forget this, too, with the Patriots, in that this very well could be the last go-round with these guys.
It's possible, yeah.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Belichick, after getting the sixth one, says, okay, that's it. I'm done, because Brady's going to be 41 next season, and I know that he's some sort of modern medical marvel and all that.
He's discovered a way to avoid skin cancer by drinking water. So there's that. I mean, he is a miracle worker.
I know that I was still playing softball when I was 40, and my year 40 season, I was still halfway decent. Year 41 season, I don't know what happened, but everything was a lot tougher all of a sudden. So the point being that, yes, Brady wants to play till he's 45, but I'm thinking this could probably be it. So you add all those factors into everything. The 2 weeks to prepare for Foles. They're not going to let Nick Foles beat them. This team's too proud for that. The sixth Super Bowl, all of it. I just don't see the Eagles coming out of this without looking like Alderaan after the Death Star opened up on them. I just don't see it. I don't know how you do it. You want to pick the Eagles, go ahead, but you're going to look like an idiot.
We will all be more than happy if we're wrong, right?
I'll eat my words, no problem.
I'll enjoy the hell out of it if it happens. I'm just setting my expectations properly. Like, the worst thing that the Falcons did was make me believe.
Right.
Like, we were so close. Like, not only were the Falcons good enough to play with the Patriots, but then they did play them. And then they were beating the crap out of them. And they were going to humiliate Tom Brady. And it was going to be glorious.
And then it wasn't.
And then what?
I think
it's like, and they were up, they were playing well, they were great. And then what?
This Death Star is fully operational. And what was the line about your puny little rebellion?
Your insignificant rebellion.
Yeah.
You may file when ready.
I'm afraid that this battle station is fully operational. Like the Patriots at this point are like the second Death Star. They may look damaged and bruised, but hey, they're still fully up.
The shield generator will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
It was like that picture I sent earlier where they took a shot from Rocky IV with Drago and Rocky, doing the stare down. And Rocky is dressed in an Eagles jersey and Drago is in the Patriots jersey. It's just I must break you. That's exactly what this is. And that's the way the Patriots are going into this. Mm-hmm. You cannot, with a chance to win your sixth Super Bowl with the same coach and quarterback, you cannot let the Nick Foles-led Eagles beat you. You simply cannot let that happen. So there's maybe people think, well, they're only playing the Eagles with their backup quarterback. Maybe there'll be a letdown. I don't see that happening. The only thing that can save the Eagles is if Brady gets hurt and you got to bank on Brian Hoyer. Then maybe. But I'm not even so sure then.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do some sort of stupid hot take and go, yeah, the Eagles can blow it. No, I don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I don't even care if I'm wrong. I will say this too. I don't think I'd even mind that much if the Patriots win this time. Because it's history.
No, because, I don't know. I don't care about the historical aspect. I just, at this point, if they win, what does it matter? Like,
yeah,
they already have 5. Sure, give them 6. What the hell? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Like, if they win, they win. And they're, they are who we thought they were. Crown them. Yeah. Etc.
So, Mike, you're going to come in and do the Eagles pick now, right? Just to, because we're a sports podcast. We're supposed to have a hot take here.
No, what?
Mike, we talked before in our pre-show meeting that you were going to be the dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
What? I can't say in good conscience that Nick Foles is going to beat the Patriot? No.
Yeah, what's the legal thing where like you can't, in good conscience, like you can't be like misleading?
Yeah.
Like when it comes to like business, there's like a legal thing. Like leading the witness. I don't know what it is. That's not it either.
He's got a fiduciary duty.
Yes, something like that. It's like I have a duty to the people. I can't lie to them.
I'm going to tell you that Nick Foles is going to beat Tom Brady. No, like come on.
That's what I mean. Is like there is just you can't with a straight face, unless you're an Eagles fan. With a straight face, you cannot tell me that this is true.
Like the only reason, like this is just a dumb season overall, and the only reason we're even here is because football got really stupid this year and decided to conceive of a way to get Nick Foles into the Super Bowl. But like, I'm sorry, all the dumb shit is over. It's down to just one game, and Tom Brady's gonna win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that all you're looking at basically is, do they go for the points record? Do they try to hang 56 up there? Because that would be it.
What's the record? 55?
55, yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be – I don't think it's something they're going to aim for, but I think if it gets to the point where it's possible.
Yeah. I just I think this would have been a lot of fun had Carson Wentz stayed healthy, and this was the matchup we got. Changes everything. Then you go, hey, maybe this could be a really good game, but – I don't see a way the Eagles can do this. Not with, Zach makes the definitive statement. 2 weeks to prepare for Nick Foles. That's it. From there, where do you go? It's just.
Yeah. And that's just defensively, offensively. Yeah, the Eagles have had a pretty good defense numerically all season. And again, they have some good speed rushers, but. Yeah. Tom Brady's too smart for that.
Well, and this is what Brady and Belichick's 8th Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Nick Foles. You going to tell me Nick Foles is going to walk out there, being Nick Foles, in the bright lights of the Super Bowl for his first time ever, and beat Tom Brady, who's been there 8 times? Okay, sure, that's going to happen. It's a done deal. Patriots are your new world champions, and maybe we will look like idiots next week. I'm fine with that, but I don't think we're going to.
Again, yeah, I would be glad. I would be glad to be sitting here roasting it in a Patriots loss come next Monday. But yeah,
best thing that's gonna the thing that has like the best chance of happening is that maybe the Eagles come out with something to prove and they get an early lead, and then what happened last year against Atlanta and what happened this year against Jacksonville happens, and Tom Brady's like, all right, enough of this, let's just go win.
Are you guys familiar with the Doug Williams Super Bowl? 5 touchdown passes in 1 quarter against the Broncos, Redskins Broncos. Just a little side note on that game. The Broncos led 10-0 in that game at one point. The Eagles come out and get all excited and get fired up all they want, but we know what'll happen next. On that note, we're going to call it a night. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. Find us on Facebook, and we'll see you next week and talk about the Patriots Super Bowl victory and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. All right. I guess.